Cujo, you are the best partner a cop could ever ask for. If the time comes a knocking, I know you'll be in its company. Now I must continue on without my partner Intel. For future.
And so you thought you got fucking rid of me. Guess what? I'm back, motherfuckers. I'm back. Well, doing a recording today, a bit of to borrow a phrase from another YouTuber, a tech tree showcase of sorts. We're going to be covering the line on the M48 patent today, because, first tier 10, why not? It's simple, easy, and overall an all-around good line to play, especially if you're a newer player by chance. And like so many other things in life, we have to start from the beginning, because let's face it, you never get the top reward at the start. You got two choices. You got your T1 and your T22. I recommend the T1 over the T22. It's a smaller target and has a hell of a lot more fun guns. Oh, T22, that is. Yeah, that stupid T20 target fucking crap. Then moving on, we have the T2 medium. Again, these are all the low tiers. I'm just kind of skimming real quick. It's nothing special. You get your 37mm with the autoloader, which, whatever. Then moving on to the M2 medium, you finally start to get a little taste of armor, and then you get the choice between a 75 or a 37mm gun, depending whatever you're feeling like. Again, these are the low tiers. The M3 Levy, it could be good tank if it wasn't so shit. Followed by the HMC M8, which is a interesting little fucker of a tank for sure. Never actually played the HMC M8, not as a medium tank at least. And then finally you get to move on to following the M48 line, that is, the M4 Sherman. Now this is the first tier where you really have to start actually thinking about what you're going to do and how you want to do it. You're going to start out with the 75 and okay mobility, and it's just kind of history. Now you got two choices. Do you want your accuracy or your DPM? Accuracy and DPM, or do you want your, do you want to have a laugh? Do a little bit of golfing. You got your M4A1 76, your 76mm gun, which is a staple of the Sherman line all the way through, hell, even tier 7 if you're playing it, if you're not free XPing past packages. And you've got your derp gun, your 105. Now the other one there, your 76, it's going to give you good, steady, consistent performance with okay accuracy. You're going to be able to actually do what you want to do, how you want to do it, if you want to shoot at range. This is probably the gun that's going to be for most people. After you finish the tank up and you want to, try one-shotting tier 3s, the 105 is for you. If you, HE can be pretty interesting. It will do consistent chip damage, especially when you're trying to fight tier 7 heavies that have armor and there's just nothing you can do, or say you're fighting an absolution. The HE will be a good friend for you. Heat rounds are frankly for those that want to spend money and need to have a really good laugh derp. I'm looking at you, you fucker. Yeah, overall, you got your derp guns. Now, after this, you've got a difficult choice you've got to make. Both are good, but hard to choose. Do you want to pursue the E8, which is more mobility, or do you want the E2, which is your armor? Your E2, it's basically a tier 6 heavy tank. It does well, it has good armor, and you can use every kind of gun you want, be it a 76 or be it a 105, with a couple different variants with some slight differences. Please note the 105 and the M4A3E2 76 regular, those are the turrets that have good, consistent, strong armor. When you move on to the M4A3E2 76 late, you end up with a higher DPM, higher rate of fire gun, because it's actually the turret off the E8. So you're trading off your turret armor for your gun performance. And then we'll go up to the E8. Again, you have your options for your 105 or your 76, whichever you feel, but this is a tank that focuses more on mobility, whereas the E2 tops out at the low 30km/h range, the E8 gets over 40 without too much trouble. This is your more mobile tank. It's going to definitely reflect more on the line as it comes further along. The E2 is more of a cross between there to prep you for heavy tank gameplay in the American line. I recommend the E2 Jumbo over the T1 and the M6 every day. I hate that line. Okay, and moving on, we have the T20 medium. Now, this is more indicative of how the rest of the line is going to play up through tier 9. You got your initial 76mm little pop gun, and then you've got your T20 D2, which runs a 76 with crazy high DPM. You've got your T2090, which is a more accurate gun. It's going to help train you towards the Pershing and how it performs. And then finally you have the T2105 for you die-hard derp bastards that just don't want to give it up. Tank basically has no armor, decent mobility, okay view range, and an interesting selection of guns depending on if you prefer high rate of fire, consistent alpha, or if you like golfing. And now we're moving on to the Pershing. Now this tank can incorporate a little bit of everything that has come before it. Neat thing about this, you can technically have all the fully upgraded packages and still use the derp gun. Why yes, our channel host here does happen to have used the derp gun for the entire grind of the M26 Pershing. He never actually used the 90 and ground the M46, to which I don't believe he has yet to even play yet. You know, what the fuck. Now, the neat thing about the Pershing here, you finally have enough of an improvement in view range, and you have enough turret armor where you can start embracing the American medium hull-down gameplay that you would have first experienced at the Sherman Jumbo with the up-armored turret. This tank can actually do that. It's overall decent mobility, decent spotting, good view range, and the Top Gun, the T15E2M2, is actually a very good performing gun. Trust me, it beats the hell out of the 90mm M3 and the M36 all day long. It's actually a really, really good performing, consistent gun. This is, again, indicative of the entire American medium line, where it's a good overall, all-around tank. And moving on to the M46 patent, when you start stock, you're still going to have the Pershing turret, which unfortunately by Tier 9 has gone from having some armor Tier 8 to just... it's tissue paper by Tier 9 with anything higher shooting at you. It's the truth of it. You've got a couple versions. You've got your 90s that you were familiar with across all three, or if you want to be a troll, you can use the 90mm M36 right from the start and get the upgraded engine and all the other stuff and yada yada. Moving on to the second to last package for the M46, you've got all your upgrades, you've got all your mobility, you finally have the improved M46 T119 turret. Now that finally is a turret that incorporates some actual angling so that rather than raw armor thickness to resist shells, it can actually bounce them somewhat consistently. It's hit or miss, it depends how good the accuracy of the enemy is and how long you've been sitting still in front of them. That is definitely important. And the final upgrade is the 105mm rifle. This is the thing that finally makes the tank worthwhile, the T5E1M2. Give me a moment here. So you're going to have good mobility, you're going to have good gun depression, good view range, good radio signal range, you're going to have okay mobility, I think I already said that, and you finally have a 105mm gun here at Tier 9 that is actually reasonably competitive with good DPM overall. We're looking at 6.67 rounds base of fire rate with this 105mm gun as it goes. Looking at a penetration standard of 218 with a premium of 265 with 390 alpha across the board. 0.37 accuracy, so this isn't a long-range weapon. It's more of a mid-range brawling kind of a gun, especially with that rate of fire. Because with equipment and crew skills, you can easily bump that over 7 rounds a minute. That's actually very, very good for that size of gun in particular. And moving on to the last of the line. Now, you guys are all lucky because when the patent originally was in the game, you had to use that original 105mm gun before you could get to the fully upgraded M48 105, basically an American copy of the British L7 off of the Centurions. Whew. Now, this is going to be the main focus of it because, let's face it, it's the tank everybody wants to get. You're looking at the M48 A5 patent. Sorry, the A6 is the Israeli version. We don't quite have that. Overall, with the last buff they did on this, the mobility's good overall with a speed of around 50 kilometers an hour. Not bad. Decent power to weight, decent mobility. Does perform well on all terrains. Of course, best in class view range at tier 10 for a medium at, I believe, 420 meters base view range. You can skip adding other equipment to increase the view range if you choose, but remember, the more view range you have stacked on your tank, even though it's already at its maximum, helps decrease camo value on hidden light tanks and tank destroyers, for instance, so that you can spot them sooner. As stated before, you have the British You have the American copy of the British L7. This thing has a base fire rate of 7.19 rounds a minute with 268 base pen, 330 pen. On the premium rounds, again, 390 alpha with 53 pen on the HE and 480 alpha. Has a 1.9 second aiming time and a 0.36 accuracy. This is a good medium to long range gun, especially with those penetration values. It's actually very useful. Although please note the premium rounds are heat, so it can always be a little sketchy, especially with all the spaced armor coming into the game. The engine power, the mobility stays about the same. It's a little bit improved from the M46, M47. Overall, it's good, but the biggest thing is the buff they did to this a few months back, where they've improved the turret armor to where it can consistently perform against tier 8, 9, and 10 mediums and heavy tanks with reasonable reliability, and even tier 10 tank destroyers under certain limited conditions. This is a tank that's best used hull down, playing peekaboo over ridges, so you can just keep slapping the shit out of people. You do have some hull armor. It's very rounded, very curved, from the front especially, and it can bounce some stuff. It doesn't catch on fire too often. It doesn't get ammo racked too often, but then again, RNG is what it is, and you might get double ammo racked in 2 shots. You never know. Life just keeps happening. Yeah, overall, the American medium tank line, they're a good kind of Joe average tank. They do everything okay with nothing particularly good. They're actually a very good line to train for the British mediums as well, or vice versa, as they both play fairly similarly, although the British mediums depend more on speed and mobility versus the Americans, which depend more on gun depression and turret armor, usually. T20 is definitely excluded in that last statement. Overall, I want to say that basically covers everything on that line. Let us know if you want anything specifically covered, any tank in the line you'd like more attention to. Say the E2 to E8, if we can do possibly a video in the future covering specific differences in playstyles, or maybe you want to cover the Pershing and the benefits of the 90 over the 105, or the 105 over the 90, derp, you fucker, and so on. Please let us know in the comments or in the forum, wherever you happen to read about or see. We always encourage participation. Thank you.